Welcome back. You're still watching It's a Beautiful Day. Now, as temperatures continue to soar, thousands are escaping to our coastlines to enjoy some much-needed sun and sea. But while the waters may look inviting, a less visible threat could just be floating below the surface. Increasingly, jellyfish, including the highly venomous box jellyfish, are being spotted in Philippine waters. Now, experts say climate change and warmer oceans are pushing these marine creatures closer to the shore, heightening risk for beachgoers. Now, to help us understand this growing concern and how to stay safe, we are joined via Zoom by Dr. Esguerra of the Energy Development Corporation's Humanitarian Contingent. Magandang umaga, Doc Esguerra. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a beautiful day.
Hi, it's a beautiful day. Good morning.
Doc Ted, let's talk about first and foremost yung mga common misconceptions tungkol sa jellyfish. We've heard stories na may mga ibang talagang highly venomous, highly poisonous, yung iba harmless allegedly. But then what misconceptions do you think that we need to debunk when it comes to yung jellyfish po?
When we talk about jellyfish, we have to note that they existed way back before humanity came in. Before we came into the picture, there's even a joke that a creature with no brain has outlived quite a number of species on Earth, and they're part of what we call it in the cycle of everything, in the circle of life, and it's their way of creating their defense mechanism wherein they release some sort of nematocysts. These are stingers actually when a predator attacks them. And the tendency for us, because of the incursion of human, particularly in summer months, and most often than not, during warmer months, we have to note that they tend to proliferate because that's their breeding season also. So it depends on what hemisphere you are on Earth. But in this part of the region, they occur in warmer months because of the breeding season.
Doc Ted, we often see jellyfish floating near the surface. Is that because they're hunting or are there other reasons for this behavior? And may share ko lang, Doc Ted, because we had an interview with a marine photographer and naikwento niya na itong mga jellyfish pala, they don't avoid you. Kaya hindi katulad ng ibang marine life na lumalayo sila pag may tao. Ito palang jellyfish, minsan lumalapit pa. So how true is this?
Yeah, because they have tendency to go into a prospect. They don't have eyes and ears. They only rely on movement in the water. So if they can sense movement, perhaps they think, no, let me use the word think, perceive that it's a fish, because they are also a predator to certain marine animals like fish. They embrace, they use their tentacles to catch these little fish. They use stingers to paralyze them so that they can eat these marine animals. So they have the tendency, if they sense any movement at all, and because of the breeding season, they tend to go on the surface and in the shallow waters. That's why there is encounter with us, with the human population.
Doc Ted, we're all ready to hit the beaches, but before we hit the beaches, we want to know, are there any particular coastal areas or beaches where jellyfish are more prevalent? And is there a reason why they're more prevalent in those areas?
Well, the prevalence of the jellyfish depends on the availability of the other marine animals also, because they feed on fishes. And if we have like a area where there are, other marine animals, they tend to proliferate there, particularly in its breeding season. We have the fifth longest shoreline on Earth, and our way of looking at beaches is a combination of alley for fishermen, for fisher folks, and for tourist destination. We are not so much particular like in Bondi Beach, that is intended only for tourism. So we have quite a multiple tasking of our beach fronts. And there are quite higher tendencies for these species to proliferate. If we are to go to our destination, particularly this summer, we have to ascertain that the beach fronts and the tourist destinations must have first aid, must have lifeguard and safety induction, because the owner or the property owner must have a way of clearing those beaches from hazards. For example, not only uh, jellyfish, but there might be sea urchin, there
Yeah.
might be corals, there might be other, like for example, if it's also a sea lane for for you know like near the beach, pier, there might be movement of other outboard motor which can hit a diver or a swimmer. So there must first be a safety cordon, and they can put barriers. No, it's like net for other animals not to come through.
Yeah.
Not only jellyfish, but other species or materials which can create harm.
Doc, when we're talking about the sightings, we're talking about yung prevalence nila na, and right now, some people are wondering whether or not yung climate change po nga ba is a contributor of the rising number of jellyfish sightings dito sa Pilipinas. We talked about the temperature being one of the reasons why there are certain breeding periods for these jellyfish. Is that the reason why na parang dumadami yung sightings of jellyfish in the Philippines?
Yeah, we can attribute to the changes of the landscape of the hemisphere, and one area is the rising sea temperature. Animals tend to migrate to areas where they can breed and they can proliferate. So way back before, there is not much sightings on box jelly. Of course, in Australia they have, and because of those changes which affect the ocean, our ocean in general, they tend to go out of the way. And we are now counting statistics of box jelly, and it's not really a good news after all, because we are a sea people. Our economics are mainly from the sea. Of the 40,000 barangays, higher percentage are around we are along the coastline. You have to imagine, we have the fifth longest shoreline. So it affects also our relations to the sea, if the sea has some sort of hazard. Now, there's nothing we can do, but we have to adjust. That is why the best way is to prevent it. Now, if there are sightings, where we educate our fisher folks of this kind of species, because there are lots of jellyfish and they look like the same, except for box jelly, they're a little bigger, and the body forms like a box.
Yeah.
Unlike other jellyfishes, they are rounded and they're smaller. If we educate them, and if these farmers, these fisher folks can be part of the gathering of data. For example, we have lots of jellyfish in this area, so that our biologists and other marine scientists can do studies and weigh on how we can get away from it. Because this is not annihilating those animals, because they are part of the circle of life. We kill one, it affects other species down the line, which are also feeding on certain forms of animals. So our way is just to avoid. Actually, in the philosophical sense here, friends, we disturb lots of things in the environment.
Yeah.
And it's not because we are on top of the food chain and we just have to flaunt our being on top of it, that we just go to the beach, go to the mountains and explore. We really have to honor nature. So with that, if we have good understanding of the movement of animals, particularly these jellyfish, then our safety inductions and security inductions in the beach fronts will be adjusted. There are very friendly ways, pro-environment ways, like for example, coming up with nets on certain
Yes,
beach
Doc.
fronts.
Doc, sorry, I have to cut you off there because we're running out of time. Pero we did mention that a while ago. We also a while ago shared tips for those who are stung by jellyfish in terms of first aid, and hopefully we can reduce human jellyfish interaction of a harmful nature. But for the meantime, Doc Ted, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and hopefully we can talk to you again soon na mas podcast length naman. Siguro mga isang oras tayo. Maraming salamat, Doc Ted. Thank you so much for all your help.
Happy to.